going to be taking a little bit longer, but they are making a concerted effort to make sure that the folks who need it the most, our lowest income filers, get it first. So unfortunately, it is just going to take a little bit longer for those paper checks.
Okay, thank you very much. So now we're going to jump into unemployment. So we're going to have plenty of questions from now on.
Yes. So, I want to just give the caveat that I may not have all the answers for specific unemployment case questions, but our office, again, can be a resource in helping getting you connected with EUA to ask those questions.
Okay. So on this one, I think we're going to break it down a little bit so that there is a traditional unemployment application, and then there is what's related to COVID application. So if you can describe a little bit the differences of the two, please.
Yeah. So the regular state unemployment system, that's through DUA, the Department of Unemployment Assistance, is workers, traditionally W-2 workers who pay into the unemployment insurance system and are eligible for 26 weeks of earned benefits. Typically, those benefits replace about 40% of a worker's wages. But this bill, the CARES Act, did expand those benefits to an extra $600 a week, which just got rolled out about a week ago, or 2 weeks ago. And so you should be getting your existing benefits with $600 extra a week on top of that. And that should, for many workers, add up to about 100% wage replacement. So that's the traditional system for W-2 workers. The CARES Act also expanded eligibility for unemployment benefits for non-traditional employment. As I mentioned, that independent contractors, 1099 workers, self-employed individuals, folks in the gig economy, and individuals who were supposed to start work and were unable to as a result of COVID-19. So that is an entirely separate and new system. It's called Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, PUA. And like I said, it's not linked to the GUA system. So it's two separate applications. And I can go into details on what you need in order to sort of verify your income through that system, but it's at mass.gov/PUA. They have all of the details there and the online portal for applying for benefits. And just like DUA, you will also be eligible for that extra $600 a week. And then the last part that I'll mention, which in Massachusetts has not been implemented yet, is that the CARES Act expanded the duration of eligibility from, in Massachusetts, currently the maximum benefit you can get is 26 weeks or 6 months. And as a result of the CARES Act, the pandemic emergency unemployment compensation will allow for an additional 13 weeks. So the maximum benefit will be 39 weeks. The state is working as quickly as possible to stand up that extension of benefits. So right now, if you have exhausted your 26 weeks, unfortunately, there's a little bit of a lag in when you're going to be able to keep getting benefits. But as soon as that is available, it will be retroactive to, I believe, back to March 29th, and I'll verify that.
Yep, thanks, March 29th. That's good. So just to clarify, we know we have some viewers from out of state, from outside of Massachusetts. There are some federal rules that apply for everyone, but when Chelsea mentions mass.gov, it's a little bit different for your state. Everyone that's watching, just make sure to watch on that. So we're going to be referring a lot to the Massachusetts rule. So when she mentions that the same website, each state has their own website to address unemployment. So please make sure to consider that.
That's right, and I do want to just give the caveat that not every state has set it up as two completely separate systems. So some states do have the traditional unemployment and the new expanded PUA linked, but Massachusetts does not. So they are two separate systems in Massachusetts.
Okay. So a little bit clarification on that again, so if I cannot. Because a lot of people are hearing unemployment, let's say for the gig workers, like we say, Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, anybody that did not qualify previously in the traditional unemployment, they should not be going in to apply to the traditional unemployment. They should be going to the specific website, correct?
That's correct, because unless you have more than $5,100 in earned W-2 wages from 2019, your application through the DOA system will be rejected, and it's just going to delay the process for you. So the PUA system was rolled out just 2 days ago, Monday. So you can go through that system now. I know people were waiting for a long time, and I know that there was a lot of confusion about whether you should start the process with PUA so that you were in the pipeline. I hope that people did hold off so that now they can apply through the PUA system and get this benefit.
So a little bit of clarification on that again. If someone has already applied in the DOA and got rejected, they should not try to do an appeal process in the DOA. They should just go and start a new application into the DOA. Good. So for someone like Uber drivers, Lyft drivers that they don't get W-2, like you said, what is income for them? Like, because sometimes they may have worked only part-time, they may have worked full-time. So when they enter their income, are they putting what they did the whole year, or how does it break down?
Yeah, well, the PUA system asks for your wage records for 2019, including 1099 forms, pay stubs, bank statements, anything to prove that income.
That's good. So we're going to go again into clarification. So someone like Uber driver, Lyft drivers, like gig workers, they will get, depending on how much money they made, and depending what state they are in, they'll get a percentage of that. So if someone gets, let's say, roughly $500 a week based on the income that they did, there is a $600 additional that's going to kick in.
That's
so
right.
If we can break it down a little bit, so the $500 that they're getting in based on their income, that's going to go for the 26 weeks. And then the $600 is going to go only for about 4 months, I believe. So we can break a little bit on that.
Yeah, so the extra $600 is only going through July 31st at this point. That doesn't mean that future legislation can't extend that, but as of now, the funds that were appropriated for that purpose only go through July 31st.
Okay. When we talk about retroactive, I know we're trying to come up with a date, so like March 31st, or is it March? We'll take that date, I guess.
So the pandemic unemployment compensation, I believe, is retroactive to March 29.
March 29. Okay. So additional to whoever qualified, and then they have less income, and then for whatever reason they didn't have any income. Someone go in and apply only with the $600.
I'm sorry, what?
Let's say someone did not have a work, let's say they didn't work for whatever reason, they were out of job for the last year. Can they right now qualify for the $600 unemployment by applying?
If they have been out of work but not collecting unemployment?
Correct.
So you would have to demonstrate wages in the year 2019. So if you haven't been working at all, I don't know, but you know, if, like I said, if you were supposed to start working, you have limited work history, but you were supposed to start working during this time, you may be eligible through the PUA system now.
Okay. So that's also for anybody who's W-2?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. So just a little bit specific.
The general rule is if you have W-2 wages in the system, you should apply through DUA.
So just a little bit specific, we might not be able to get all the answers right now, but someone who did not work, let's say, in 2019, that started working in 2018, 20, and worked only, let's say, for about a month, doesn't have enough income to really qualify sometimes into the regular traditional unemployment. That is a W-2 worker. Went in and applied and got denied from the traditional unemployment. Would that person go in and apply now into the new COVID QA?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. So that's good. That was one of the questions.
And I believe that the DUA system should make that suggestion to you. If your application is denied through the DUA system, it should come up on the screen like you may be eligible through the PUA system. So I believe that is the case.
Okay, so that's good. Just to wrap it up a little bit, anybody who's getting a denial letter from the regular traditional unemployment, should they be appealing it directly through the DUA, or should they ignore that and then just apply into the new website?
That depends. If you are supposed to be eligible through the traditional system, then you should appeal through the traditional system. And again, that if you have over $5,100 of wages in 2019 on your W-2, then you are likely going to have to go through the DUA system. So if you were rejected through that system, then you should appeal to that system. Otherwise, you should explore the DUA system.
Okay, that's good. Let me just look at one more questions and then we're going to go to the next one. So I think let's jump in with unemployment, the 13 weeks extension. Someone who exhausted their funds, let's say they were collecting until the end of January, they were collecting $500 a week, again, for an example, and they no longer were receiving, and now the pandemic hit. Can that person go back and reapply again to the traditional and then be able to be eligible again to receive the $500 when they were stopped, plus the $600?
Yes. So, like I said, this has not actually been implemented in Massachusetts yet. So if you have exhausted your benefits, you should not apply at this time. And keep an eye on the DUA website, because they will update that when the PEUC, which is the extra 13 weeks, when that is implemented. But if there is a gap, So if you have been unemployed, you've exhausted your benefits, and you're not able to apply, but then say, a couple weeks later, this extension does get implemented in the state, you are eligible for retroactive pay for those weeks in between when you exhausted your benefits and when the extra benefits start. So that is retroactive all the way back to February 2nd. So if you exhausted your benefits in January, still, are obviously not able to find work because much of the economy was shut down, all the way back to February 2nd, you can be compensated for that time. And the extra $600, obviously, again, would start as a...
Okay. Just to retrail it a little bit, the money that you receive through unemployment is taxable, so you have to make sure that to pay taxes on that. You can do it while you're receiving it. There is a choice where you can pay the taxes at that time. But the stimulus check that we received, the $1,200, you don't have to pay tax on that. Correct?
Correct. And that's a great point about the unemployment benefits being taxable. They are also can be disqualifying. They count as, because the unemployment benefits count as taxable income. For some folks, it may put you over income threshold for other public benefits. So that's just something to keep an eye on if that is a situation and if you're close to one of those comments.
Is the $600 also taxable?
Yes, it's all part of your unemployment benefit.
Okay. So now we can come back later on if we have time on unemployment or the stimulus check, but let's move on to the Triple P or SBA loan that is part of the CARES Act. I know it's going to be a little bit controversial right now because the funding has run out, and then there is one that I think is in the House, and I'm still waiting to a little bit give us an update on that.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, there are kind of two main programs for small business assistance. One is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, or EIDL loans, which can be up to $2 million. The interest rate is 3.75%. And the CARES Act did appropriate funds toward a $10,000 cash advance as part of that loan program. So that and the intention of that was to get money in the pockets and into, infused into payroll costs quickly. And that $10,000 functions as a grant, so it does not need to be paid back. So that puts the larger EIDL loan would need to be paid back, but over a long period of time. Those are administered directly through the SBA. The second program is, like I mentioned, the new Paycheck Protection Program, which are forgivable loans. They can be up to $10 million, but it's calculated as basically 2.5 times your monthly payroll cost. And 75% of the loan would need to go toward retaining your full-time employment. So that has to go to payroll costs. But 25% of it can be used for other costs, mortgage payments. And that can be forgiven if the money goes towards those costs over the course of 8 years from the time the loan is administered. Unfortunately, we saw both of those programs being, the demand being far exceeding the supply and funding. So there were funding lapses for both of those programs last week, which is why both the House and the Senate have been moving quickly to to try to appropriate more funds for those programs. And the details are basically $310 million additional for the Paycheck Protection Program, and $60 million, billion. And 60 of that is going to be earmarked for small community lenders. And the goal of that earmark is to make sure that these loans get into the hands of really the mom and pop shops that they were intended for. Because unfortunately we saw that with the first round of funding, some of the bigger small businesses who have strong, history, lending relationships with some of the bigger banks, were able to get processed first. And, they had those relationships existing already, so they were able to navigate this very quickly. And so therefore, a lot of businesses that this was intended to help kind of didn't get to access it as quickly. So that's the goal of this next round of funding, and we're hopeful that this will pass tomorrow in the House.
So in the hope that's going to get passed, it's going to be pending if it gets passed so that we can answer it a little bit better. This is sometimes it feels like it's on first come, first serve basis. So if you apply, whoever applies first will get it. It's not who needs it more.
So that's what I was just kind of referencing, is why they did earmark $60 billion of this additional funding for smaller lending facilities that have relationships with some of the smaller businesses, and hopefully we'll be able to get the money into those accounts.
I know we cannot speculate or talk a little bit more on this, but we can ask you, because there are some businesses that did not qualify from this who had more than 500 employees, or there was a talk on the news by the president saying Harvard received this and we have to pay back, so that we don't confuse any of this information. It looks like Harvard did not get it from the PPP, but a different kind of fund.
Right, that's correct. No, it was not an SBA loan. This was part of the education funding that most colleges and universities got some funding, and it was aimed at getting, aid to students, tuition repayment, refunds, housing costs. So it was not through any SBA program.
But there are some businesses who should not have qualified over this who had received it, and then they're being asked to pay back, or are they doing it on their own good faith, I guess?
Yeah, I have heard of some larger chains who are giving back the funds voluntarily.
Okay. Thank you on that. So in order for, we talk about a lot about forgivable, non-forgivable loan. So if we can describe it in form, someone could take up to $10 million, and it's possible all 100% of it can be forgivable. In order to do that, what are the steps someone has to follow?
Yeah, so it is forgivable if the total amount of the loan is used for payroll costs, mortgage, interest, rent, utilities, and other qualifying payments for the 8 weeks after getting the loan. If you do not maintain your staff and payroll, your loan forgiveness will be reduced. So the IRS fact sheet says that if you decrease salaries and wages by more than 25% for any employee that made less than $100,000 annualized in 2019, your loan forgiveness will be reduced. And I know for a lot of businesses, they have furloughed or laid off workers already, and they're wondering, can I rehire in order to qualify? The answer is yes. The deadline for that would be June 30th to get back to full-time employment salary levels. But I know that that's something we've heard about a lot is, can I still qualify if, I've already had to lay off staff and yes, the full-time employment would just have to be restored by June 30th.
And the 100% can be forgivable if they maintain the same kind of payroll that they had before the pandemic. But if they bring, let's say, only 50% of that payroll, only 50% will be forgivable, and the 50% will have to be paid back.
Yes, I don't know exactly how much the loan forgiveness can be reduced if you don't maintain full payroll. The other piece of it is that only 25% of the loan amount can be used for non-payroll costs. So those other qualifying costs like rent, utilities, mortgage interest, that can only comprise 25% of the loan amount. 75% is the payroll.
That's good. When we talk, so this is not something, has to be a business that has been functioning before. It's not a new lease or anything that can be taken out from market.
Right. Yeah. The mortgage obligations have to be established before February 15th. February 15th is basically the magic date. So the rental agreement would have to be enforced by February 15th. Utilities have to be in service by February 15th. That's kind of the magic date for that.
Yeah. So it's not for new businesses that just started and then has to show before February 15th. Just wanted to make sure to clarify that. It's a little bit specific, but we can touch up because it's going to be specific to certain people. Are there any benefits to apply the EIDL over an employment benefit or self-employed person?
I can't really give advice on that. I will say, obviously, right now there's a funding lapse with the EIDL program, so hopefully we can get that back up and running shortly. But right now, the SBA is not accepting new EIDL applications. My understanding is that if you did apply prior to the funding lapse, that your application is still in the pipeline, and once additional funding is appropriated, they will start processing those loans again. You don't have to reapply. But, obviously, we're kind of in limbo right
now. Okay. So let me touch up, and then we can circle back, even though we've been going some kind of order to answer some questions from unemployment or just stimulus check, a little bit to touch up. And so if we can talk a little bit of what action is needed and no action is needed for example, for the stimulus check, someone who has applied for 2019 or 2018, there is no action needed.
Correct. If the IRS has your correct information, nothing's changed, then you should automatically get your check. But you can check that online through the Get My Payment portal.
And then again, another no action needed. Someone applied for unemployment through the traditional or through the new system. They are receiving their benefit based on their income. They don't have to do anything extra for the $600 to kick in.
Correct. Obviously, for both of these benefits, you have to certify each week that you remain unemployed. Although I will note that the job search requirement has been waived as a provision of the CARES Act, because obviously you can't be looking for work if your place of business is closed because of and largely your industry has been shuttered because of the pandemic. It's not realistic to be asking people to also be looking for work. But you do have to certify that you remain unemployed each week. So that's, just want to remind folks that you do have to keep applying every week. But there is no additional steps that need to be taken to get that extra $600 benefit. It should be dispersed concurrently with the earned benefit.
But it could be two different checks, or it could be combined, depending.
It depends on how you get it, but it should be. It may be two line items on your bank account, but it should be at the same time. And if you do receive your unemployment benefit through debit card, it should be loaded on a debit card. The total amount, including the $600.
That's good. And unemployment usually, like for the traditional unemployment, if you have kids, I think it's what, $25 or $50 extra that you may get for your dependent. With this also new website also does the same kind, follow the same kind of guideline?
That I don't know, actually. But I know that the PUA website just released some updated FAQs, so it may be there, or I'm happy to follow up with the state to get more information on that. I just don't know off the top of my head.
Okay. As you know, in this kind of age, there may be some people sometimes who don't have access to computers, who don't have access, and then the phone lines are taking too long. Some people may say they have waited for almost all day, and then still they wait and wait, and then the phone dies on them. So they are worried. They don't have the menu right now. They're not able to apply, and then if they wait too long, they may not get a retroactive. So for people who don't have computer at home, sometimes, what is it that they can do, or what kind of help or support can be mentioned like that?
Yeah, so I believe it's Mass Hire that has phone. You can call the Mass Hire offices to request assistance with filing. You can also call our office, and we'd be happy to, if you've already filed, we're happy to help you get answers from the call center or, one of the customer service reps. If you're not hearing back about your claim, our office is absolutely happy to help try to get you those answers if you're a constituent. I know that a lot of people are calling in from other states, and we'd be also happy to connect you with your member of Congress if you're not in the 5th Congressional District of Massachusetts.
So while we're waiting, there's one question that's going to come up. Maybe you can touch up a little bit of the general question. So what does your job, or I know you said it a little bit at the beginning, what does it mean being constituent, or what kind of help someone needs, not only because it's related to COVID, just in general, if you can give us a job description on how people can reach you and what kind of help can we expect from you?
Yes. So the two best ways to reach us are, one, to call our office at 1-7-354-0292, or to contact us through our website, which is Catherine Clark, KATHERENCLARK.house.gov. And our goal is really to be the link for our constituents between them and the federal government, and that takes all kinds of shapes and sizes. As I mentioned previously, we do a lot of constituent casework, trying to help our constituents navigate the federal bureaucracy, whether that's, as I said earlier, immigration benefits, veterans benefits, Social Security, IRS, anything that has to do with a federal agency. We have, we may not be able to get the outcome that you desire, but we can help constituents get answers to questions that can sometimes just really be a kind of a black hole once you send in that application and you're not hearing back. So we can try to kind of untangle that. But right now, we're really, we're limited in the in-person community outreach that we can do. We're trying to do a lot of these type of conversations, virtual conversations, to get the information out there about what benefits our constituents are eligible for, how to access them, how to get their questions answered if they have especially complicated circumstances, as well as trying to, get the support for our frontline workers, that, doctors and nurses certainly, but also our first responders, our grocery store workers, our postal workers, home health aides, everybody who is an essential worker during this time. We are working to try to connect folks with resources for PPE, for testing, and also just make sure that the federal government is getting the resources that they need, and local governments to be able to continue to provide these services for them. So it's hard to put the job description into a really concise answer, but anything that has to do with the federal government, any questions, we're here to try to get you those answers.
I always say, make sure to vote, get involved, ask questions. This is the reason we have elected officials, not only during this kind of time, but even in good times to be able to get involved and interact. So we have to make sure to do our part by getting involved and asking questions. So thank you for being here. I don't know how to ask this question. Let me just see it. And depending on the immigration status, sometimes you may not be allowed or to receive some kind of public assistance. Would there someone who's under applying for immigration or waiting for a green card, can they apply for any kind of this funding, or is there anything that's in place to assist those people who used to work also, but still their immigration status is not fully finalized, I guess?
Yeah, so these benefits should not have any impact on that public charge rule. So, these benefits that people are entitled to do not count as, would not preclude someone from applying for their immigration benefits.
Thank you. And then one person said, do I have to have my 2019 tax done for independent contractor employment? I don't think an employment asks for taxes. But
no, so they'll just ask for your bank statement, 99, other, pay stubs, just proof of income during 2019.
Thank you. Once again, we have about 4 minutes left to see how we can catch up with any other questions. So we have people watching. I just want to reiterate this a little bit. I am representing the Massachusetts Ethiopain Association, Support Association here in the Massachusetts. We are here to help you. Magda is right here taking some questions. Anything that we can answer here, we'll gather together and then get it to Kelsey and try to send it to you as an email. Mahader is here from Connecticut, and then Sri is here from New York, and then Hezkel is here from Cincinnati. So we do have a lot of support system out there trying to get information to you to make sure to anything that is allowed legally that you can participate in. We are here to assist you and support you in all these things. While I'm reading for another question, if I can give you the floor, anything that we can touch up, anything you want to add as a general advice or any kind of follow-up, I guess.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that Congresswoman Clark is really committed to making sure that we support both your physical health, mental health during this really difficult time, but also your economic health, and making sure that we, come out of this as strong, if not stronger, than when we went in. So we want to hear from you what the reality is on the ground as these benefits are coming from the federal government, sometimes through the state, to communities. We want to hear from you. Where are the gaps? Where are things not working, or where they are working? All of that is really helpful feedback for us. Not only in, hopefully we can help you on an individual level to navigate your individual case, but also just to get that feedback so that we can be the best possible advocates for you and for our district on the federal level. As this is not going to be the last relief effort. I'm hoping that this, latest round of funding does get passed tomorrow so that we can get this money out into these programs quickly. But it's not going to be the last relief package that comes out of this. So we want your ideas. We want to hear your questions. So please do keep in touch. And thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you. So let me ask one more question. We have a little bit of a minute. For education loan that people had already, that they can call on their lenders to try to put a hold on that, and then if you can catch up at the same time some kind of protection for someone who lost their job, not able to pay their rent right now, can a little bit touch up on this subject, please.
Sure. So there's been a pause on federal student loan payments. So there will be no interest accrual on these loans through September 30th, and there will be no forced collection of, like garnishment of wages during this time. So federal student loan borrowers do not need to make those payments during this time. If you have any questions about whether your loan qualifies, please do call I think it's 1-800-1-FED-AID, FEDAID, to make sure that you know what you're eligible for, because I don't want people not making payments on the loans that don't qualify. And then the second part of your question, I can't remember.
We didn't have rent. Right now, rent.
Yeah. So there are a couple of things. One is Massachusetts just passed, or the governor just signed into law, a moratorium on evictions and foreclosures. And that also includes a ban on landlords issuing notices to quit. So you cannot be evicted for the 4-month period or 45 days after the state of emergency is lifted, depending on which comes first. But that is at least temporary relief for renters and homeowners, although I do want to just clarify that it's not necessarily a rent free. So if you are able to make those payments, I would encourage folks to do so. But it is protection from foreclosure or eviction during that time period. Additionally, homeowners with a federal mortgage, so that's any homeowner with an FHA, USDA, VA, or a mortgage that's backed by a federal entity, so Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. This is the majority of mortgages. Those homeowners can request a 6-month forbearance on their mortgage payment. So that is that's an additional form of relief on the federal government side. And then any renters residing in public or assisted housing, or if you're renting in a home that is whose owner has a federally backed mortgage, you are protected from eviction for 4 months, although that also obviously falls into the state law as well. So.
Thank you very much. This brings us to our end of the show. Thank you for the Facebook viewers and also for those who are listening to us on the conference call. Any question that we do not get to answer here, please still send them through the MESA website, and then I'll make sure to get those questions if I need to Kelsey and try to get you the answers. Once again, all I'm going to say, make sure to get involved. That is why we elect officials, and we really thank you for coming in and representing the state and answering the questions that we have here. So we really appreciate the time that you took, not only for today, whatever time we took to talk between now to prepare for it. So I really appreciate that. So once again, this is Ethiopain from Boston, Massachusetts, representing MESA, Massachusetts Ethiopian Association as support. Any question, we are here to help you. I know this is a very difficult time for all of us, something new that none of us have experienced. So be gentle, protect each other, be nice toward each other. This is the time that we can be helpful to each other. And the state, the federal government, the reason that they put the CARES Act is to make sure that they understand a lot of people are going through hardship to help us through. So make sure to apply on time. If you need help, you can reach us through MESA and or the state representative like Kelsey mentioned. I'll take those information. I'll make sure to post them at the end of the show for people to call to get in touch with. And bless you all. Thank you. Okay.
until the